Okay, so this is a new type of video where basically I'm going to be going over a puzzle that I hope that a lot of you enjoy. This is a very, very tricky puzzle, and some of you know I'm around 2100 rapid, and I believe this puzzle took me around 20 minutes to actually finish. So this is very hard. Don't let this stop you. I'll be going over the answer in a little bit. But I'll give you a couple minutes. Please feel free to pause the video and figure out what the answer is. Yeah, I'm gonna give you a couple seconds. Also remember to subscribe to the channel, like, subscribe, all that normal stuff that YouTubers say. But yeah, I think we've waited long enough. Let's get into the meat and bones of this puzzle. So the first thing that you should notice after a long think, you should try to find the most forcing move first, and you have to realize that this queen is almost trapped. So some of you might look for Rook A4 check, right? Rook A4 check is a really decent move, but Rook A4 check doesn't really do anything. Like, the king can just move. If he moves here, you might think, oh, I have this check. Oh, that's very interesting. Maybe I have some stuff like that. Even if he trades the queen, this is probably a draw. This is probably still a draw. So that's no fun, and he can just take the pawn anytime that he wants. So Rook A4 is out of the window pretty much immediately. You can also calculate some knight F3 stuff, and you might say, okay, well, now the queen can't get out, right? Because I'm defending the H2 pawn. And in the future, maybe I'll be able to, like, I don't know, get my rook over here with maybe Rook C8 or Rook E8 and bring it down to the E file and trap the queen. Maybe, but you're forgetting that your opponent has a lot of moves. First of all, after he takes the pawn, which is very reasonable, if you might say, okay, well, I'm going to put my rook on an open file that I can get down there, like, let's say Rook E8. Well, you have to remember that the queen can also use the back rank. So the queen goes like here, can go like to C8, to C1. And yeah, the queen's leaving. You're not trapping the queen here. And yeah, there's no puzzle. You can stop calculating there. So if it's not any of these checks, also this check is basically the same thing as knight F3. If it's none of those checks, then what is the best move? And then you have to find out that, okay, the queen is basically trapped. Let's find the most forced move. Let's try to attack the queen. And then you find the move Rook A1, the first of many brilliant moves. And Rook A1 is a brilliant move, of course. Some of you, the lower rated ones, might be wondering, well, what about queen takes? Just a free rook. But then you have the knight fork, and this should be a winning endgame because you're up a piece, right? So Rook A1 makes a lot of sense. And let's put it on the board. Let's play Rook A1. This is our main line. Let's play Rook A1. And let's calculate this out. So now Rook A1, let's see what my opponent can do. If he takes the rook, we have this fork, of course. He doesn't have any checks. If he takes on H2, we also have this fork. And we'd be picking up the queen. And then now you have to calculate the other move, the other two moves, Queen G2 and Queen D5. Right? Queen G2 and Queen D5. Very reasonable. Very reasonable. Let's calculate the more forcing one. Let's calculate Queen D5. Right? So after Queen D5, you have to realize here that you have to have something immediate. If you don't have anything immediate, then you're just gonna lose because the queen is gonna escape. And I mean, this position, queen versus knight and rook is normally bad, but maybe. So you have to find the move Rook A4 check, of course. It's very, very simple to find that. You could also look at knight F3 first, but knight F3, actually, the king just walks over to C4. King walks over to C4. If you give another check, king comes over to B4, and you won't have any way to win the queen. You won't have any way to win the game. So knight F3 doesn't work. So the move Rook A4 is what we choose, right? Obviously, the king can't go down. These 5 squares are all covered by the rook. If he blocks with the queen, obviously. That's fine. Probably you take with an, actually you can take with anything. These 5 squares are down. So this move and this move. Now this move is obviously out the window. We don't even have to really calculate that. Rook A5 picks up the queen, and then this should be a winning endgame. And we'll be fine here, right? So we don't have to calculate that. But what about the move king to e5? And you might say, okay, this kind of seems like he's getting out of danger, because now I don't have rook a5, because then it just simply queen takes. So why don't we look at my other checks? Let's look at the move f4. f4, probably he can just play this and he escapes. The move knight probably to c4 is also very forcing. Knight c4 is a move that you should look at. Knight c4, if he comes into any of these squares, any discovered check would take the queen, so we can't do that. If he comes here, we get a fork. But he has this move, only move, and he escapes. Even after a check, this move probably, actually that move would walk into that. Maybe that's a winning game for white. So let's go up here again. And now we're out of checks with white, and we're probably just gonna lose because, I mean, there's too many threats. So knight c4 doesn't work, and then we look back, and how else can we win the queen from this position? Rook e4 maybe? No. So the only other way to win the queen here and win the game is the move rook a5, another very, very nice move. But that's not the end of the story. Obviously, the reason why rook a5 works is because queen takes, and then we get knight c4. It's the same tactic as rook a1 was at the start, but it's hard to see from a distance. And that's why this is hard. But that's not it, because although we've calculated queen d5, there's another line that we haven't calculated yet. And that line is the move queen to g2. And this line is where things get a little complicated, okay? Now you might say, of course, we have knight f3, king takes, and then rook g1 traps the queen, right? That's simple. That's simple, right? Easy, easy, easy. But you're missing the fact that my opponent, and your opponent, I guess in this case, would have the move king to e4, and he's okay. Because after rook g1, simply takes, and you're not winning the queen, you're just down a knight for a queen for a rook. So that wouldn't work. And you might say, okay, well, rook back to a4. But now king takes. Now king takes, and you don't have rook g1 anymore, and the queen is going to escape. Like here, let's say here, we go back, queen g4. And our opponent escapes. So, after all those lines, what do you do here? What do you do after queen g2? And you realize, okay, well, you know what would be great? Why don't we play rook g1 first? Let's go rook g1, right? Let's go rook g1. And of course, after takes, we have the move knight f3, another very nice little rook sacrifice to a knight fork. And of course, if our queen takes on h2, we play knight f3, and it's the same thing that we looked at earlier. So rook g1 is fine and dandy, but now our opponent has queen d5. Now our opponent has queen d5, and we don't have the same trick that we did earlier because of this silly little pawn on g5. So the only way to actually solve this puzzle, is very, very nice, and that's the reason why I picked this for our first little puzzle thing. And if we go down the line level a little bit more, we're not winning the queen here. We have check. I mean, okay, king escapes. We're okay. The reason why I picked this puzzle out of the first puzzle is because the move here, the reason why this line doesn't work is because the pawn is on g5. So what we have to do, we have to take this whole line, this whole rook a1 line, the reason why this works, and go all the way back to the beginning and realize that the best move is actually pawn to g6. A brilliant move, and this is the only move that works. Let me turn on the engine here. See, this is +3, but everything else, it doesn't work. If we play rook a1 first, all the advantage goes away. It's back to equal. and we don't have anything. The only move here is G6. Let me promote this. The only move here is G6. And this is why I love this puzzle, because you have to realize that all of the stuff that you just looked at still works. And like if here we have Rook A4 and we have the same thing that we looked at earlier. If Queen H2, we simply have this fork, and everything still works. But you might say, wait, what still works? What still works? What about Queen C1? What about Queen C1? Queen escapes. Queen's getting out of here, right? Well, we switch our idea. We switch our idea from the queen, and after the move Queen C1, let's say Queen C1, we switch our idea from the queen and we just take on H7. And what's so impressive is that there's no checks anymore. There's no checks. He's out of checks here in all these positions, and I'm just gonna promote, right? So after G6, the only other line that you have to look at, the only other line that makes any sense, and if our opponent does nothing, our opponent does this, then Rook A1 works. All of the ideas of Rook A1 work now, and they didn't earlier. Because of the pawn on G5, we have to look at Queen to G2. This is the only other line that we have to look at, because our opponent has some checks, and we have to see that. But after the simple move Gh7, our opponent has one check here. We go King E1 only move. If you block with the knight, it gets a little complicated, like King E4, because Knight F3 is a check, and it's a little complicated. I wouldn't really want to get into that. So King E1 only move, and our opponent has one more check on G1, and then Knight F1, and we're simply promoting, and this is the end of the line. If you saw this in the time that I did, I mean, congrats. And if you saw this in less than the time that I did, I mean, whew, that's a really good score. And also another little detail, we're promoting with check here. We're promoting to a queen with check. So even if my opponent can like set up some more checks like Queen G5, we're promoting with check, so that doesn't actually matter. If you saw this in less than the time that I did, I mean, significant props to you, because this is a crazy puzzle. If you saw it in like the same amount of time that I did, like really good job. If you solved it at all, I mean, your strength is probably around 2,000 at least online. Yeah, that was this puzzle. I hope you guys enjoyed. If this does well, I'm probably gonna make more videos like it. Yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. Good evening and good night.